welcome. Oh, time's up. What about now? Can you hear us? Yeah, I bet you can.
Perfect.
Hey, welcome to Chun Pod. We're out here.
Gavin and Sean.
Yep.
Back at it again with another podcast.
Just hanging out, saying whatever.
Talking about life. Talking about stuff.
Yeah, we got all kinds of ideas out here. Thinking about it. I get it. Good.
So how's life been going for you, Sean?
Man, it's been going pretty good, I would say.
Pretty decently?
Yeah. Not too bad at all.
Good. Good to hear, man.
Man, so what's your place been like?
It's been doing well. Just trying to get through the days. In a couple days. Trying to get through life. Week by week.
Week by week. We're out here every week. I haven't been posting. I'm like every
On schedule.
On schedule, no, because nobody really watches these videos at this point. But we're still like we commit to every week, like getting together and just doing like a random podcast about whatever. That's really just like what we're doing out here. We're gonna do other stuff, like other kinds of videos in the future, but also just like getting in the habit of this regular podcast makes us better at it.
Oh, yeah.
And like eventually, years from now, this experience.
We'll have our own radio show, and we'll be rich, and life will be good.
This is laughably simple, but it's still like what? It's still the futuristic, man. Like our parents didn't have the ability to just like record
video themselves for
video
thousands
themselves
to see.
and just like put it out in public space. It's amazing.
It's back in the day, man. You had a telephone.
Yeah, and so many people
Dial-up modem.
aren't capitalizing on this, and we're not even really capitalizing on it, but we're out here doing it.
Right. Trying to, at least. Trying to get some content for you guys. Like I always say, comment, share.
I don't do it for the people.
Oh, okay. I try. I do it for you.
I do it for the record.
I do it for just to keep it on record. It's more of a time capsule.
Yeah, well, I mean, eventually we'll have people to do it for.
Yeah. It's just right now, it's like the 14 of you who are watching.
If
Appreciate it.
Have you like been looking at them and like the numbers on them?
No, I haven't, but I have been telling a lot of people, and a lot of people have been watching them. So.
That's sweet.
Like at least all my friends and stuff. Hi-yos, gonna get started, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hey, if you're a rando and you stumble across this, if you like what you see, welcome. Like, share, subscribe, tell your friends, stick around. We're, like we always say, we're just a general topics podcast. Talk about whatever and however.
Yeah, it's really just about
not necessarily opinionated, but kind of opinionated a little bit.
Dang, well, let's get right to it, man.
Got to.
Perfect timing with that phrase. I love that. I mean, right? It's been long enough. We got to say something interesting.
So, Chun, life in general, man.
Life in general.
How do you think shit's going for all of us?
Dude, it's crazy. I feel like things that I thought weren't true are true.
I'm gonna give an example.
9/11. No, but really, like I definitely know that a lot of pain and suffering happened because of that incident. Like those buildings did fall down, and
well, how or why? I don't think any of us will ever know.
Yeah, no, it feels like it just feels like a lot of people are just saying like, you know, this didn't go down the way they said it did.
Well, the big thing that they like, I don't know. I don't want to say the government. Or, like, if you guys believe in, like, the New World Order, the 1%, the boogeymen, it's like they turn everything into kind of like a joke. It's like, you know, it was like when people really started finding out, like, all these weird things about September 11th, as soon as that started happening, like, people, like, all of a sudden, it was all over, like, Facebook and stuff. It was Bush did 9/11. You know, it was just a bunch of jokes. Mm-hmm. And that's how they get you. They turn it into a joke when it really was pretty dirty job, but we're not really a conspiracy channel. We're just, again, opinions. It wasn't really. It's just more or less like something that was really botched, in my opinion. That they know that they couldn't keep secret forever, so they had to do something. It was almost like the Illuminati. Like, remember when everybody really started to get into the Illuminati? Yeah. And then, like, all of a sudden, all those jokes about the Illuminati were coming out and shit. Mm-hmm. It's just like that's how they do it. They value it. They just tell you like it's just a joke. You know what I mean? Or even if you do truly believe it, it's like that you get people think you're silly because you really buy into like what they think is a joke. You know what I'm saying? It's just, and when there is some sketchy stuff that happened that day that we'll never really ever figure out why or how, you know what I mean, unless we find some weird document, you know what I mean. It's just that's just how it goes.
I feel like even if there was some weird document, it's already been
gone,
lit on fire.
burned.
Yeah.
That's the thing though, you know what I mean. We'll never, like, everybody always wants to say like 9/11 was an inside job or whatever, and like, I mean, for all we know, you could be right. You know what I mean? I agree with it. I mean, I believe that there's a couple things that happened that day that don't make sense when you look back on it. You know what I mean? Like, that was a little weird.
Yeah, but there's just all kinds of stuff like this.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's just going down, like, in our world. You know, it's like, what even is the universe? Like, you know, like, are we...
Does what we do matter?
Yeah, and are there things that, like, you know, are there things in space that, like, some people know about that are, like, you know, alive?
Maybe.
And, but maybe...
I don't know. I feel like if there was an alien civilization, they wouldn't just, like, go to the 10 idiots in charge. You know, they'd be like, your 10 idiots said we couldn't come down and talk to you guys, so now we're down here talking to you guys because they can't stop us. It's like, I feel like that's what an alien race would do if, like, they were, like, you know, like one of those take me to your leader type people. They'd meet our leaders, all the world leaders, not just America, and they'd be like, oh, no. It's like, we got to talk to the regular people. It's like,
no, I feel like they already tried to talk to the regular people, and they just, like, freaked out, and then we just call those people crazy. Because aliens don't exist.
I feel like those people are crazy. Some of them, I don't believe, like, a lot of people that, like, okay, let me rephrase that. There are a lot of, like, you know, like J. Allen Hynek, like the American UFO professor. He was the guy who basically studied UFOs in America. There was also Jacques Vallée, I think. He was the Frenchman who did it. And they're like the top in their UFO fields, you know what I'm saying? And basically what they said was these things are pretending to be something they're not. They are demonic in nature, and they are trying to dissuade you from really realizing what they really are. Like, because, like, we'll call them aliens, but, like, that doesn't necessarily... It's like the way intergalactic travel...
Our image of an alien isn't what they are.
Well, I mean, the way the intergalactic
travel... But they're not
travel,
from Earth necessarily.
But they're not from this universe either. They're not... Like, I always tell people, man, like, I watched a lot of shit, and I've read a lot of shit.
It's the space in between the spaces that they're coming from.
Well, it's like, don't call them intergalactic. They're not from a different galaxy. You call them interdimensional because they come from a place that's part of our place, but we can't see it or get to it in any way, shape, or form. And that's where they reside, like in between dimensions or in a higher dimension than us. And that's just, it's like the way space travel works, it's like the Fermi paradox basically states like the basic is the silence is deafening. It's like we should at least be able to pick something up, you know, just point our thing in a random direction and maybe pick something up. And we've done that to almost every square inch of space, and we found nothing, we've heard nothing, we've saw nothing. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But the fact that Fermi had to make the Fermi paradox and say it, you know what I mean, was a big deal. He basically said, like, you know, the way intergalactic space travel is, and, like, how old we think the universe is, it's incredibly possible, but that by right now, there would be an alien civilization so big that it would be impossible to ignore it. And we've not found any evidence of that whatsoever. Like, whether it's a giant, like a superstructure or a signal of some kind or anything, we've never really found. He said the silence is deafening, and that's a scary. He also said we're either alone in the universe or we're not, and both of those things are incredibly scary.
Yeah, so I think we're not alone in the universe, all right? And I think that we're being conditioned to accept the fact that we're not.
I just don't believe this. I don't think I've been conditioned.
There's so much.
I just don't believe that I don't believe anything the government says.
Hear me out. It's not about it. I mean, it's about like the social media, kids shows, and like aliens are like they're such a popular idea. They're in shows. They're everywhere. It's like aliens are an idea that we like made up, I guess, because they obviously don't exist.
Well, I don't believe anything has been made up.
To sources, tons of people say aliens don't exist, and
I personally believe in a much weirder history than what we were taught.
Yeah.
Only because King Solomon of Israel said there's nothing new under the sun, and that was basically meaning that everything we have now we've had before, and we will constantly go through these shifts of like going through these gigantic technological advancements and then dying down. And then going through these same technological... It's like the Romans built aqueducts that we don't know... We can't recreate. The Egyptians built pyramids. It's like like these moments of like these gigantic, and they're not in the same time period. You know, Alexander, like Egypt was way further back than Rome, but Rome was still, you know what I mean? It's like these ancient civilizations that have created such wondrous, like, architecture, and we can't recreate it, and it's like we can't take that and reverse engineer it. We don't know how they did it. And I don't really necessarily, I believe like everything, like all mythologies and everything humans have ever said has been true, only because we don't have the imagination for, like, how are we going to invent a half man, half horse, like, in our heads? Like, who's going to walk around and be like, half man, half horse? Yep, like, I'm just going to start telling people that there are centaurs. No, you have to see that. You have to at least think you saw it, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And then you run back and you're like, there's fucking centaurs, you know what I mean? It's like, humans, giants? Especially, yeah, like, giants are, like, giants, dragons, and a bunch of shit are all around the world. It's like, that's everything. So, obviously, there's some truth behind that. And, like, giants are in religious texts, like the Bible.
All over the place, man. Like, you look in the Bible.
The Nephilim, the Bene Elohim.
But then, like, the Titans.
Yeah, in ancient Greek mythology, just the way the gods portrayed themselves in Greek mythology is a lot like how the fallen angels in the Bible portrayed themselves. Yes. Which is what makes me think that these things existed, and like centaurs, minotaurs.
Similar, yeah.
It's like, but I believe the gods weren't these immortal beings that were like these all-powerful creators. I believe that they came here, not necessarily aliens, but like the interdimensional people, like they're just a very higher level intelligence, taught humanity a lot of things, maybe even gene manipulation, so minotaurs, centaurs. I
mean, just humans.
Like just anything. Well, I wouldn't say I believe we were here first. Like I believe like this is the planet we were supposed to be on. It's like there's no other we've seen planet that's like Earth.
But there is that like the missing link, like the gap. Like there's a big gap between any other species and us.
That's the point. And it's like, but
maybe we just perceive that because
there's a big gap.
We can't really communicate.
I don't believe. See, even Charles Darwin didn't believe in evolution. He was actually going around to disprove his father's theory, and he did. And then everybody grabbed. They were like, "Oh, these birds look the same on the islands. It must be true." And then like, evolution wasn't his idea. Charles Darwin just kind of went around to see if his father's theory was correct, proved that it wasn't, and then went back with his findings. And then it was during, I can't remember, sometime during the 1800s where, like, Christianity was falling out of England. And they were literally like, evolution's, like, it's a new fucking thing. It's like, God doesn't exist. So it's like, it's basically, like, not saying that he does, just saying, like, I personally believe God exists, but, like, I understand other people, like, you know, that you have different religions or subsects or, you know, whatever. It's just, to me, it's just, like, there's a lot of things, like, if you really research history, there's a lot of things that draw parallel, like, and, like, very parallel. Like, giants is one thing, dragons are another thing. The fact that dragons were bad in Norse culture, but good in Chinese culture is a very weird thing. It's, like, the fact that, like, everything in, like, the Asia part is like backwards. It's like not everything, but like the way they write from left to right, or right to left. Excuse me. They don't write like how we rewrite. They write like you have to read it like this. They like dragons are good things. What else? Like spirits. Like all spirits are demons, and demons aren't necessarily a bad thing. They're just onis. It's like there's a lot. Like demons in all other cultures are horrible, but at most Asian cultures, it's like. They're just spirits.
If you look at any like religion, it's easy to depict that there's like a lot of religions. They point to like God or like this like supreme like kind of force that's like all knowing, or maybe but like there's like the one big dude up top that's like sometimes many religions they refer to that as a thing that exists, and then there's also these creatures below them which are like like angels, demons, demigods,
right?
Like it's like somehow like more powerful than a human in a lot of ways.
But less powerful than the creator.
But these things exist in our religion, and that we have around the world, and so it's like weird to acknowledge those things as like real things that exist, because in your day-to-day life they kind of
you don't see it. Well, you don't see it. It's just like I said, man. It's like the spatial dimensions in between.
But I just feel like I'm also just like a human on Earth, and I live in a box. Mm-hmm. And like, why would they come here?
Well, they would. Like, it's like the fact is, it's like what if there's nobody else? It's like what if there's nothing else? You know what I'm saying?
There's been many people on Earth, like in past histories, who have like never eaten a lemon.
Right.
Never even seen a lemon. Because like before like people talk to each other around the world.
So what you're saying is just because we don't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Yeah, Like, there are animals that I don't know exist. There
could be more animals in the
humans
fucking
don't
Amazon.
exist. We discover new species that
Every
are,
day.
that are like not just like a subset of a cockroach, you know, like that like looks exactly like a cockroach, but it's genetically different. No, it's like a weird kind of mouse with like weird legs and like a snout.
Like for a long, like remember the jackalope when everybody thought the jackal was a rabbit with antlers. Like everybody thought that existed for the longest time.
Yeah, I don't. It doesn't.
Bigfoot. We don't know. You can't say that. You ain't never seen a jackalope.
See, I think I'm right about Bigfoot in my personal theory. I don't know if I've said this on the podcast before, but definitely not on any video podcasts. Here, I'll go into it. It's my Bigfoot Protection Society theory. Is that anyone that actually gets like real proof of Bigfoot, like
gets contacted by like the society,
or like because I mean you're gonna take it to where like
anywhere.
And I'm sort of basing this off of a video of chatting with what was his name? It's like the Chatting With series. It's a YouTube series, and I can't remember the guy's name exactly, but you'll find it if you just like chatting with like a Bigfoot, like believer or like Sasquatch. It's something you can find it. Chatting With that series. He chats with people that are interesting. You know, that's his whole channel. He's got a lot of views. He's a really cool guy. And so I watched this lady describe like why she believes in Bigfoot, and like her experiences made me form this theory basically, and it makes sense. You know, it's plausible.
It's like there's some type of environmentalist that like have found Bigfoot and keep it a secret, kind of.
Yeah. Well, this lady, she says she has a picture. She says I encountered a Bigfoot. She said to her kid to like get out their phone, and the kid did, and the kid like starts recording, but they're kind of far away, and they're like. It's like,
always a grainy fucking
always a grainy
conspiracy theory shot.
So she takes this to the park ranger, or it was like like
forest man.
Mm-hmm, like
the bush was
a ranger. Yeah, it was a ranger. No, like that's like one of the highest, like a state police officer.
Right.
And but like for the forest, and she takes it to them. He looks at it. And they were like interested in it. She's like, I have Bigfoot footage. Let me see. He looks at it, and like they were all like, she like puts it to like the front office person, and like she's like, I have Bigfoot photo. Like what do I do with this? Yeah, help. And then they were like really interested in like show me the video. And they're like, show this video to the ranger. The ranger sees it and he's like, this ain't shit. It's grainy video. You saw a bear. And like that was their narrative from that on. You saw a bear. You don't have proof. You saw a bear, and that was like that was just like
basically he was being confrontational a little bit with the sense that like no, you didn't see Bigfoot. Like you saw more. You like he was being more like secretive. Like he knew something.
I don't know. I can't say that because this is like a secondhand story. But that was like I know that's what she said. That like they realized that it really wasn't that great of a video. And then they kept telling her over and over again, you saw
it's
a bear. No matter what she had to say after that. And so it makes sense to me that there would be, like, because if you can't just admit that Bigfoot's real right off the bat, like, as the government, because you need to give them, like, human rights. But they're not human. They're not human. They need rights. How do you think about this, man? We have animal rights. Is this a human? Is it an animal?
That reminds me of a thing, dude. It's just like I can't remember. It's all over Facebook. I watch it all the time. It's this dude drunk on like a talk show. He's just like, he was like, they become legitimized and just become regular public relations people working in Soho. And I was just like,
are you talking about like Sasquatch?
Yeah. They become legitimized.
Exactly. Our culture can't. It's like they're like out in the woods, you know. Are people if the government admits to existing them, people are then gonna flock to trying to find them, get their pelts, get their heads.
Well, here's
people
the thing.
will try to murder them for sport.
Like if you do believe in evolution, then you would understand that there was a time that Homo sapiens sapien lived on Earth at the same time as the Neanderthal.
Yeah, it happened.
But no, the thing is, what if they're the Neanderthal? It's like, what if this is how they evolved because they couldn't form coherent societies, so they had to grow fur and do whatever, you know what I mean? They got bigger and tougher and did what they did.
Form coherent societies, and it's just nothing like ours.
Well, you know what I mean? Like, they don't have, like, the protection of, like, a city. You know what I'm saying? So they don't have to, like, evolve, like, to
No,
be these huge beefy bastards because
yeah,
you know what I mean.
I imagine it just looks like, you know, on the Planet of the Apes when like the apes are
They just
all,
live in the woods.
yeah, but they have like little like grass huts, and it's like a nice like little location that they had.
Right.
They had like houses that they built out of just natural stuff, and like you've probably seen those YouTube channels that it's just like a guy in the woods just doing random stuff. With
Yeah, like he'll build hot tubs and shit.
yeah, just out of just like
anything, like a stick in the ground.
He doesn't like not like imported resources. You just chop down trees, use like big leaves, mud, dirt, like fire.
He makes like bricks out of clay and shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like he lets them like dry
yeah,
out.
bake your own clay for your entire house, for every brick. There's those YouTube videos, you know, nature guys. Those guys
Love
exist.
those. I love watching them.
You put that on, and then
They
you
make
also
like really
put
cool huts and
C418.
shit. I love
The music from Minecraft. Try that. One tab Minecraft music. The other tab.
it. Just them
The other
creating
tab
some
is
shit.
them. Like the dirt sounds is perfect. But yeah, so if humans can do that, I feel like a primate can do that. You can teach a bonobo to cook a fire, hunt. Maybe I don't know if they taught bonobos how to hunt, but they have taught bonobo monkeys how to build.
Well, I mean,
fires
I
and
really
cook
wouldn't.
food.
I wouldn't even view them as an ape because they're obviously smarter than an ape. If they do exist, they've been like, let's say there is, like, let's say they do exist and nobody's ever found one. Well, holy shit, you're really good at hiding because we have satellite imagery. You know what I'm saying? It's like we literally have cameras in space going over the Earth 1,000 times a day. Like, you know what I mean? So if you can hide from that.
No, it's super easy to hide in the forest, though. You can't see past the canopy.
I guess not. Depending on the forest.
Well, exactly. There's some forests like in California.
But we have like thermal imagers and shit. You know what I'm saying? It's like you would have thought like something would have picked something up. You know what I mean?
Well, when my mom went to the redwoods in California,
Awesome.
she said that there was like, I mean, they're so tall.
Yeah, I
you
know.
cannot see the top of them, and it's such a wide area. And she said that like she said the canopy was like really low, but there were signs out that said like you can't go above the canopy. It's only for scientists.
Right.
It's only for special people who are allowed access into the canopy of the redwood forest.
Well, they don't want you being like destroying
common
like the
trees and
very
stuff.
special environment that's up there in the canopy.
But you know, you could, if you're just like a monkey person who can just move through the trees easily, you could just live in California, and there could be a bunch of you. And that brings me back to the Bigfoot Protection Society kind of idea, is that if that lady had a really good video of Bigfoot and she goes to the park ranger, who is like the only guy you could go to have that be legitimized, basically, you know, that's gonna be your first bet. Is like the park rangers to show that. Then like they describe.
Well, I'm
it to
sure
you.
those motherfuckers have seen some shit.
And so if you show them like a real video of Bigfoot, they're gonna be like, I think they would just lay out exactly what I said. Like, look, don't do this. Like, look at what, and then they would just say like, if you post this online and you expose the fact that Bigfoot's actually real, and people start to believe you, you're gonna like ruin their home. You're gonna ruin their society,
their environment.
because the fact that if we just acknowledge as a society that they exist, we would.
Somebody somehow somewhere is going to do something to that.
Oh yeah, like if the U.S. government said right now Bigfoot exists, and they were just like, here's all the pictures we've been hiding, then people would, by the masses, try to find them, and then they would succeed because by the masses we can do anything.
It's not 4 people in the woods yelling.
Yeah, it's like a bunch of people saying we know Bigfoot.
Yeah, like we're gonna
exists.
freaking comb the
Like,
woods for Bigfoot,
yeah.
dude. It's just,
And so yeah, if you find a good picture of Bigfoot and you try to get it out, people are going to stop you and explain that to you, because like Bigfoot doesn't have rights, and like they need that kind of like legal representation in our system in order for them to exist here.
Well, because we don't even know, like, to the extent of, like, their species. It's like they could be very endangered. You know what I'm saying?
And think
like,
about
let's
how
say they
easily
did
you could hide space. Let's say, like, in Utah, like, there's just, like, a forest that's about 100 acres bigger than it really is on any map. You could just lie, right?
I guess. I mean, who's going to really say anything?
Yeah, like, if you're NASA and you control all the images from space...
Well, I mean, if you go on Google Earth and, like, look at pictures of Antarctica and stuff, like, a lot of stuff is airbrushed out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a lot of things all over the world on Google Earth that are airbrushed out. Like, you can, like, obvious airbrushing. Like, I don't know, like, there are people who say there are black pyramids in Antarctica, basalt pyramids, like the rock at the bottom of the ocean. Like, you know what I'm saying? They say that those are things.
Yeah, I mean, what if there's just, like,
It's like
another...
it's like some H.P. Lovecraft type of stuff.
Like a continent. Like, what if that exists?
Oh, I think I have a picture.
Just
on
like a
my
bunch
phone
of islands we don't know about in the
I have
middle
a
of the
picture
Pacific
on my
Ocean
phone.
and massive space.
of Antarctica. What Antarctica would look like with no ice.
It's crazy, man.
I used it for a D&D campaign. I just took Antarctica, flipped it upside down, and then freaking used it.
That's cool. But like, you know, I feel like there's so much opportunity for us just to not know. And I feel like people in our society, they think they know, and like, but like I feel like you can't actually know some things that people really hold like true. I mean, it's like they have like faith in things. It's like, you know, like I feel like the thing about like God and Christians is that they believe like, yeah, like God doesn't like come out and say like, yeah, I'm real, because then you were like, then like what's the
point?
There's no value in just like in that.
Exactly.
You have to have
That's
faith.
what I tell people
That's
all
what
the time.
faith is. But people put faith in just like random stuff they don't understand. And like
Well, I mean,
like
I guess we
like
sometimes
the-
have to do that.
like the earth is round, you know? I mean, people get so mad. They're just like, "Oh my God, you think the Earth is flat? Like, I'm gonna freak the fuck out, you idiot!" Because everyone their whole life has just been telling them the Earth is round. But like, you know,
it's like what my mom.
but like
said.
you've never personally done the experiments, and you just like look at experiments, you look at the numbers, and it makes sense that it's round. I mean, it probably is round.
Oh yeah.
But I feel like, you know, I know, like when I learned in psychology class that in medieval times they looked up at the stars and the planets that you can see from the surface of the Earth, and they drew out these like curly Q patterns, and they were like, because if you don't know anything about like how the Earth is really moving, and you're just looking up at the stars, you see that they go in regular patterns. And like the mathematics makes sense because like they didn't have like cell phones to stare down at, and they were
There was some dude in a tower, like with a telescope.
No, they were just looking at the sky every single night, and they didn't have light pollution, so like you can see the stars do the exact same thing basically every year. And that's my cat. I should probably turn that thing out. Quit that.
It's basically what my mom had told me.
Well, no, hold on, let me finish it. They made these curly Q patterns. They ran the math out, and they decided that
it wouldn't make sense.
No, that it did make sense.
Hey, Groove.
They decided that all of the planets that moved in like these weird little patterns every single year, and like they ran the numbers and like around Earth, and like they moved like this in these weird patterns, but they didn't know why they moved in these little curly Q patterns. But that's what they decided that they did. And if you look at the math and everything, like it checks out, but it's not actually right.
Right.
But it's believable. It's like convincible. You're saying like, look, you look at the stars every night. I've calculated it.
Like they did the math.
Yeah, they were like, these are real things that are moving around, and because of the way we observe them, they're doing this thing. I mean, just everything. I mean, it just goes like if you look at one thing from one angle, you can see a completely different thing from the other angle.
Right.
You know, it's so we're just looking at. So what's the angle that we have? It's the angle that was given to us in a regular United States education through like just a small town school, high school, and they start off with like, you know, this is the globe, and you know, this is the alphabet, this is a fire hydrant,
Right.
This is a mailbox, and you know, you just learn like regular stuff and just like how to talk and regular school subjects. But there's so much stuff like in science class that they told us, and that was just like proven false later in life. Like I said before, like all life on Earth, I learned in the 5th grade. They told us 100% of life on Earth is indirectly sustained by the sun. You're either a plant who eats the sun, an animal who eats a plant,
or an animal who eats an animal.
Animal who eats an animal, or like a
so on and
fungus
so forth.
who eats an animal
Detritus.
that's dead,
Right.
and like, but that's all just stemming from the sun.
Yeah.
But that's not true because there's deep sea vents that they discovered
Where people
after they
were
printed
not
those
people.
textbooks. And so you know, if that was just flat out wrong, how much other stuff is just flat out wrong?
Well, I mean, they're doing a lot of shit like, well, let me say what I was going to say before. I was going to say, like, my mom had told me at one point, like, because I was, like, really getting behind, like, the whole flat earth thing. I was like, it makes sense, I suppose. Like, I guess there's some mathematics and some things that I guess could lead up to, like, that idea. But she told me, she was like, what will that change? Like, what will knowing that change? she basically said, like, what will that change other than your perspective? It's like that. It's not like you're gonna, okay, the Earth is flat, no more gravity, you float away. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like we come to these realizations. It's like people fight over the dumbest shit, and like the Earth being flat. It's like that in no way directly impacts your life at all. You know what I'm saying?
No, I disagree a lot, because if the Earth was flat, I feel like we would have more importance. If we were literally in a dome and not just on like a speck in the middle of an infinite universe, then it's like we're like this special little place.
I understand, but that still doesn't change your day-to-day life. It just changes your perspective on how you view the universe.
Yeah, you're right.
Like, that's not, it's like you still got to get up and go to work, you still got to deal with assholes, you still got to fight with people who you don't want to fight with. You know what I'm saying? Like, it changes your perspective on how the universe runs and how important we actually are as a species, but it doesn't change what we have to do and what we're going to do. Mm-hmm. It's like we're still going to do the podcast, we're still going to go to work. Yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like nobody's gonna like drop their shit, like be like, oh, fuck my factory job, the Earth's flat. Like, no, like, whoa, dude. You know what I mean? Like that, we're not leaving anytime soon. If it's flat, we're really never leaving. So we gotta take care of this place. I don't know. I just believe, I get what you're saying. Like, it does change your perspective on how like the universe is viewed and how our physics is viewed, but it doesn't change like your day-to-day, like, your aspects of life.
Yeah. Like
unless you wanted to figure out how the fuck we got in the flat Earth dome.
Like, the grind is still going to be the same, you know, on Earth as it always has been.
It's just like, one of those things.
If the electricity shuts off, then we're going to be back to the real shit.
Yeah. Maybe people will get smarter.
We're going to be churning dirt and trying to figure out where to get water from.
That's also, I have a theory on why everybody wants to fight over stupid shit. It's like we don't have the survival instinct anymore. It's like we've lost that over time.
No, I don't think we've lost it.
Well, you can regain it back. No, like, let's say you were thrown out in the middle of the forest.
We just ignore it, and we don't know what to do. We're just bored.
Well, I feel like a lot of us, like, I don't know. I feel like most people have lost it. Like, the ones who are, like, not necessarily the ones who go camping or the people like you run a canopy tour, you're in nature all the time. Yeah, no, it's like the people who like live in the suburbs.
You're right. Yes.
And like have been, you know, $100,000 salary their entire life. It's like that's why we fight over stupid shit. It's because like it's like before we would like band together because there's wolves out there. We have to fight the fucking wolf.
Yeah, we gotta like get all these crops grown.
Exactly. We need to work together in order.
If 5 of us plant a bunch of corn and work on it, we're gonna get way more better corn if just one of us does.
Right. And it's like, but nowadays it's like people don't want to. It's like people lost that instinct to survive. It's like we're no longer afraid of like nature.
Yeah, people don't have logical fears anymore.
No, like so they get like
people used to be afraid that they would like run out of food before they could like find food again.
Yeah, but we don't have that anymore. And like I feel like that like people have gotten so comfortable.
People are just stressed about like just like they like this energy, this like this need to be this normal state of like being in stress as being a human has been for like the past
since we've been a thing.
Yeah, since like
10,000 years
before we've even been a human. We've been struggling so hard, and then
like we've only not been struggling for about 200 years. Like truly not like we don't have like we've had walls and shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's not like we were like in our little huts with spears looking out at like the glowing eyes in the forest. Like 200 years ago, we've started like the Industrial Revolution. We started to sustain ourselves.
And I would even argue 100 years because like the year 1900 was probably basic as hell.
Yeah. That's all I'm trying to say, though. It's like we've lost that. We have to invent new shit to like worry about and fight about. And like when we're and like and not only that, but it's like we used to band together, like you said. It's like we need to get these crops in or fight these wolves or whatever. And like I can't do it by myself. I need you guys. It's like we don't. It's like we've lost that sense of like I need you type of thing. It's like
we've gained the ability to be truly independent. Like everybody, everybody's like expected to be independent. Like completely, like basically.
But that's not the way humans are supposed to run. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like
we've set up a system that's just not like it's like made to control us, not like for us to flourish.
Right, and no, it's like flourishing is one thing. Made to control is so right. It's more like they've put us here to be comfortable and to be and like as the more comfortable we get. The dumber we get because we don't have any of that sense of urgency, like that sense of I need to get my crops in or I'm going to have a fucked winter or I need to kill these wolves because I have a baby in my cradle and these wolves are gonna kill my baby. It's like we don't have that anymore. It's like we're gonna hide in our houses and get on YouTube or whatever. Sorry, and no offense to you guys, just saying. And we're gonna pretend like nothing's wrong, and like we're gonna make up these problems. Like some people might call them first world problems. It's like, I don't have any. I poured my cereal and don't have any milk. It's that's exactly the issues we have to face now. It's like the most traumatic thing we probably ever have to face is a death, and we don't even we take death to the extreme nowadays. Like when somebody dies, it's like it's supposed to be celebrated. Like a funeral isn't supposed to necessarily be like this depressing. Like, oh my God, I wish he was still here. It's like, it's more like, this guy was alive, I loved him, I remember everything he did, and this man deserves to finally be at rest. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like he lived a life. And
he lived a good life, and like he deserves to be at rest. It's like nowadays, it's like we're so not used to our survival instinct. It's like I'm not saying like humans need to be desensitized to death, even though people try to say we are. It's like 300 years ago, we were really desensitized to death. Yeah. Motherfuckers dying of malaria. It's like, and they want to say video games are the harm.
No, we're really not. We're like the opposite of desensitized to death. So I think we're almost the most sensitive to death.
No, that's what I mean. It's like before. It's like 300 years ago. It's like our wife would die at 35. It wasn't even
illegal to kill someone.
Right. It's like, I challenge you to a duel. Pull your guns. Shoot.
Yeah, I mean, back in the days, long before the printing press was made.
Before cops really knew what was going on.
Yeah, you could, it wasn't weird to just, get mad at a guy and just kill him, and they were just like, damn, man, you shouldn't have made him mad.
Shouldn't have pissed that guy. You shouldn't have stole that dude's
They were just they were like, oh man, you killed a guy? He's like, you made me really mad.
You ever seen the movie The Duelist? You ever seen the movie The Duelist?
No.
It's about, it's about these French officers during, the French Revolution. Or not the French, it's like the war against Russia. I can't remember what that was called. When they fought the Cossacks. But it's basically about these two French officers who hate each other. And, every time they're out of wartime, one officer will challenge the other officer to a duel. And, something always happens where one guy will get too hurt and can't continue, so none of them dies. You know what I'm saying? It's just this whole movie of, this rivalry. And it's a really solid movie because it really shows how, duels were fought, you know what I mean? Because at first, in the very beginning of the movie, they hate each other, and they're, fencing, they're, doing the old sword styles. And then at the end of the movie, the last duel they do, it's, two pistols, and they're just, hunting each other. And it's, that's really what you would take, it was, at this ruin.
That's kind of
And,
crazy.
they turned around, and they walked, to the different ends of the ruins, and then they just hunted each other. And that was the whole, and, and it's a fantastic movie. If, you ever get the chance to watch it, it's called The Duelist, and it's really good. It's just the ending is so, yes. You know what I mean? Because it's not the ending you expect, but it's the ending you want.
That's cool.
It's not the ending you're sitting there okay, this is going to be satisfying. It's 10 times more satisfying than you watch this 3-hour film, and then you're, at the very end, you're like, yes! And it doesn't end how y'all are thinking it ends. You guys have to watch the film. It's fantastic. Fantastic film.
Yeah, that does sound amazing.
It's 40 years of these dudes' lives.
Wow.
It's they hated each other. Every time they weren't doing stuff in the military or doing stuff at home, every time they found each other, they would fucking try to kill each other.
Wow.
They would challenge each other to a duel. They would have their friends watch just to make sure there was no foul play, and then they would go.
Yeah, that's weird. We've kind of thrown out foul play.
Yeah.
In today's society.
It's just ridiculous.
We just got gang shit going on.
Gang shit going on all the time.
And they just cut off heads. They're just there's no rules here.
It's we're just bored. There's another thing why I think people are so argumentative and cringy nowadays is because we're just bored. It's we've lost. It's we used to have shit to do. You know what I mean? Now we have nothing to do. It's well, okay, I can drive to the park and sit on the bench, and then I can go home and play PlayStation.
Well, that's all lame.
And that's all lame. Exactly. It's you have before is every day was an adventure.
It was the fucking park was just the place to be. PlayStation was a dope new thing.
Brand new. It's you got it for your child, or you were 30 years old playing Nintendo, and you were PlayStation, no shit. Polygons, whoa.
Now it's just all weird.
It's all topsy-turvy, man. It's right is wrong and wrong is right. It's it's very weird. It's you can't even, if I walked up to somebody and was good morning, sir, it's that could end up being a fucking detrimental argument. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, you called me sir? It's like, shit. It's like, you know what I mean?
It's like, they were just like,
fuck.
man,
Like, that's all I have to say. Like, that's all that would come out of my mouth next, and I would just walk away. Fuck. And then I'd just keep walking.
Yeah, people are so non-personal, I feel like.
Well, it's like, I don't know you. You know what I mean? It's like, people want, like, it's like, it's
like
hard for me.
Like, back in the day, like, it was okay to not know someone.
Yeah.
And just, like, ask them a question.
Well, it was okay to
just,
be...
like,
it was
find a stranger that
well,
was,
back
like,
in the
like
day,
an old
people
guy.
took people at their word. It's like, nowadays, it's like, I could tell you a blatant fact. I could say, if the moon were to hit the Earth, we would all be doomed. It's like, I remember getting into a huge argument with my friends, like, when I was, like, I don't remember, I was, like, 13, and I told them, I was like, yeah, the moon is, like, it's like, if the moon were to hit us, it would be over, and they were trying to say, no, it wouldn't. I'm like, it's like fucking 1/4 the size of Earth. It's like, if a mountain-sized asteroid hit us, it's over. It's like, and that's not the bit as big as the moon. It's like, and they were like, no. Or they had, like, another thing they tried to tell me was that Mars wasn't habitable. I'm like, nigga, all we gotta do is plant, not right now. So we gotta plant trees.
It's great. Yeah, we just gotta put, like, yeah, you just, like, it's totally habitable, man. We got a little guy out there. I mean, he just turned off recently.
My battery's getting low and it's getting dark.
It's so sad.
Rest in peace, Curiosity.
We'll get him. Like, Mars, there's resources in space. Like, we're gonna stop mining.
Oh, dude, Titan's one big fossil fuel.
Yeah.
It's like, if we really wanted to continue our fossil fuel, whatever you call it, crusade, like, you know what I mean? It's like, we'd go to Titan. It's like, I don't understand why we don't have a space program. It's like, we like, NASA is still a thing, but we're not going to space. It's like, we're just supplying the ISS and observing, and we're not doing anything. It's like, we're running out of resources. Unless we hit the core of the Earth and, like, we start mining molten iron for energy. It's like, we're running out of resources.
We're really far away from the core of the Earth, I think.
Oh, yeah, the biggest hole is, like, it doesn't even... The biggest hole it was
like
built
stupid deep.
Yeah, it's built in Russia, and it doesn't even pierce the mantle. It's not even halfway through the crust.
It's not even, like, anywhere.
And the crust is, like, the thinnest part of Earth.
Like, it's not even, like, a percentage, I feel like.
No, it got down there, but it got to the point where it was, like, 365 degrees, and the fucking diamond drills would melt. And they couldn't dig fast enough, so they had to quit. It was something borehole. I can't remember what it's called. Because it's not, like, an actual hole. The hole's, like, this big. But,
yeah,
like,
okay, yeah.
It was, like, for oil.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I don't know if it was for oil or gold. I don't know what they were looking for. But, like, it's the deepest man-made hole ever created, and it doesn't even pierce the tiny little Earth crust. It's like, so we still have a gigantic mantle, a gigantic inner mantle. It's like, we have a mantle, an outer core, and an inner core we have to get through.
Yeah, I mean...
And that's just a theory. We don't even know.
And it's, like, facts like that, yeah, like, sure, like, the it's molten on the center, but we're so far away from it, obviously, that, like, we can't even know.
Oh, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
it's like, I was just saying right now,
like
and that's just a theory. It's like, we don't even know. We know that the core is iron.
Sent, like, radio waves, some kind of scanning the Earth, and we got a pretty good idea of, like,
it's like, we know it's made of iron, because
rock.
iron does that. Like, we have electromagnetic field, and that's the only way to explain that. It's like, the only reason we'd have an electromagnetic field is that if something was generating it at the center of the Earth.
Yeah, so there's a thing. There's something generating.
It's like, it's always one thing that leads to another thing.
But I don't know what's down there.
No, we don't know.
We just can make...
We know it's a gigantic piece of iron,
maybe,
and that's all we know.
It's a gigantic piece of something that's releasing that kind of...
Well, the only thing that does that is iron. It's like, when it spins at a certain velocity, it creates an electromagnetic field, which... I don't really know what the electromagnetic field does, I'll be honest. It's a field. It's there.
It just...
It's scary.
Yeah.
I know we need it. It's like, if we didn't have it, we'd be screwed. It's just like, I don't know, it's just those little things, man. It's like, it's also like, I was getting really into, like, because evolution's becoming, like, even in, like, grounded science, it's like evolution's being thrown out as not an idea anymore. And they're turning it, and they're saying, there's a news theory called the fine-tune theory, which is basically stating that everything's too perfect, and that's weird, and we don't know why.
Okay.
It's like, basically, it's like, if the universe... When the Big Bang happened, if electromagnetism was a bit stronger, and I'm talking like fractions of a percentage, if it was that much stronger, electromagnetism, stars wouldn't be able to form. It's like gravity wouldn't be strong enough to gather all these items and push them so far together that it just ignites. It would be impossible. So all life on Earth, all life anywhere, if there's life in the in other parts of the universe, none of that would happen. And there's thousands of things that make the universe perfect. And it's like stupid perfect. It's like to like the finest degree perfect. And then you take that and you compare it with everything that makes the earth sustainable and perfect. And it's an extremely weird coincidence. It's like first off, it's super hard to get the universe to happen, okay? It's like fractions of it's like there's not even a percentage small enough to like judge for the judge of the universe. Like the odds don't exist, it's so small. And then you take that and you put it with all the key features that make Earth, and it's even stranger. It's like there's like 230 something variables where if we didn't meet one of those variables, life on Earth is impossible to sustain. It's like the fact that we have the oxygen level in our atmosphere. It's like we need oxygen to breathe, but not too much because we'll OD. We'll OD on oxygen. Mm-hmm. It's like, so everything about the electromagnetic field, our moon being an abnormal size, our distance from the sun, I could go on for hours and hours and hours listing every single variable that makes Earth. And scientists are like, we don't have an explanation. It's like they call it the fine-tune theory. It's like this is all just too perfect for no reason. And it's like, for no reason. It's like the fact that everything isn't smashing into each other and it all coheres and it all forms and it all kind of like how a nucleus of an atom does.
I feel like that's kind of like the opposite of the like agenda that's like pushed on us. Though.
No, they want to teach you. They want to say everything's random. You're
like,
random.
Yeah, you're a speck of dust in the middle of nowhere, and like you're basically.
But if you go to like MIT and like the people who are actually like writing the papers and researching it, they'll tell you that that's not the case at all. It's like random. It's like there's no such thing as random. If you know, Burrell's law states that there is like everything has a pattern of some sort. It's like, so random is impossible. Like even if you closed your eyes and did this, you did something in order to get that outcome. You know what I'm saying? It's like you had a method of doing it, which makes it unrandom. Like there are supercomputers that give pseudo-random numbers. Like not random, pseudo-random, because they have a pattern of picking that number. It's just a very structured pattern that takes forever to get through. And so, you know, you do all these things and like you'll end up with a random number. But Burrell's law, like I was talking to Mr. Mall about that. Like I was like, if the universe was created randomly. I also talked to Mr. Rose Kelly. It's like we're being taught that the universe is created randomly, but that automatically goes against one of the laws of physics, which is Burrell's law. And like he basically said like, you're right. It's like we don't know why that happened. We don't know. It's like these are just theories. It's like the fact that the universe is too perfect isn't necessarily a theory. It's more like it's just an observation. It's like, okay, why is it like this? The theory is why is it like that? You know what I mean? It's to me it was just like it's like everything we've ever said other than like the grounded science. It's like there's fundamental science which is grounded and proven, like gravity for one thing, or electromagnetism or the strong and weak nuclear forces. Those are fundamental forces.
Yeah, and like sound waves.
Exactly, like that's a grounded science.
There was a long period of time where we did not know that
sound waves exist. Waves exist.
Yeah, like that, like waves traveled through the air.
It's like Albert Einstein was the one who figured out that gravity and mass are hand in hand. It's like if you have more mass in one area, you're going to have a lot more gravity. It's like that big blanket thing, and you lay the big heavy ball on the blanket, it sinks, and then you push everything, like you throw marbles on it, and it starts to go around into the, it's basically that. It's like, and that's a very simple way of explaining how gravity works. It's just, the more stuff that's in one space, the heavier it is, the harder it is to escape the pull of that. Mm-hmm. So and that's also a variable that makes, like, we have Jupiter. Like, if we didn't have Jupiter, do you know how many meteors we would have been hit by in the past 20 years alone?
Yeah, if it just wasn't this gigantic thing.
We'd be like the moon. Like the only reason we're even sustained is because Jupiter, like anything that comes within, like close vicinity of like the inner planets, Jupiter snatches it right up. It's so big. And that's awesome.
Nothing going on there anyways. Big bunch of gases flying around.
Exactly. Just fly right through the gases into the core and melt.
As we know.
They took pictures. Have you ever seen the Juno pictures when they dipped into the clouds?
Yeah, those are wild.
It was beautiful. It was jaw dropping. It was like, I don't know, man. I feel like my mom, she's really Christian. So she's always like, like this world's a fallen world and it's still beautiful. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you could go outside and really enjoy a beautiful waterfall with the trees and the sun. You know what I mean? Like it's beautiful. Like that is a surreal, beautiful picture. But It's like, and then there's like, I always think about how more beautiful, like, the inside of Jupiter would be, like the clouds of Jupiter or the auroras of Saturn.
But you can't even get there.
No, it's like we're used to like
as a person.
The thing was like the biggest thing they had to deal with the Juno satellite when it took its dip was radiation, because we're used to about 0.1 joules on Earth. It was about, and Juno was about to experience 99.9. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like it was about to experience way more. Like we couldn't be around Jupiter. Is what I'm trying to say. It's like for a second, it's like we would burn up, like our insides would melt and we would die because it's so irradiated. And so Juno, they had to cover it in special, and they could only dip for like 5 seconds at a time, because it would fry right through the thing into its core and kill the satellite. Like they didn't even know if it was gonna make it. Like they were like, well, we're gonna dip it, and if it doesn't make it, it doesn't make it.
Meow. Little cat.
I don't know. There's a lot about space I know. Like my favorite planet is Neptune. And a lot of people don't know this, but on Neptune, the winds are so fast they almost break the sound barrier.
That's cool, man.
They're like 1,300 miles per hour.
I know that there's a hexagon on the bottom of Saturn.
Yep.
Bucks up that.
That's weird. I don't know.
Perfect hexagon.
Well, do you know? Like, have you ever seen
People
you ever
say
put
straight
oil?
lines don't exist in nature.
Yeah, right.
Except for right up there.
Except for in space.
Yeah.
Maybe not our nature. I don't know. It's like I kind of take that, and I'm like, you ever like put oil in a glass of water and it kind of sits on top?
Yeah.
It's like I'm thinking like some of the gas is just so dense, and like other gases just aren't. Like there's a lot of like helium and stuff, and like that's just a very light gas, so they don't mix.
So it just pressurizes.
Yeah. So they just push into each other until like
a perfect hexagon forms.
Yeah.
Man, I guess.
Well, I mean, you have to think it wouldn't be a circle, because they would come in like waves, like where the wind is blowing. So, like, if the wind is blowing in every direction and it meets at the pole, it would be a perfect hexagon.
Dude, I guess. I still think it's aliens.
I don't know if it's aliens. What are they trying to say? 6 points, motherfucker!
No, it's just something they built. They're not trying to say anything. They're
6
just
fucking points!
We have this idea, and it requires a big hexagon on the bottom of a planet.
6 points! Like, they're just screaming at us. It's like, you need to make pentagons! You need to make hexagons, all of them, 6 points. Why isn't your house's hexagon? Like they're just like that's their architecture, and that's what they're trying to tell us. You can't build squares. Don't do that.
It's too basic.
It's too basic shit. It's like this is true evolution. You know, it's like figuring out that we need to make hexagons for buildings. You should see the octagon guys. Those guys are way more advanced. And that's our destiny. We'll go from squares to hexagons to octagons to decagons, and then we'll die. So we won't go past decagon.
But yeah, like I feel like we're just being distracted from real, just like from thought.
Oh yeah, it's like look at like what's on TV nowadays. It's like if you don't believe the distraction is really happening, look what the news tells you. It's like literally just sit down and watch the news. Watch a full hour of whatever news program
and like
you want.
you're not gonna get like anything like useful. Like it's
no, you're gonna find out that a bunch of people murdered people, and that the sick puppy that was at the vet is fine now.
Yeah,
that's what you're gonna figure out.
And like
and what the weather is.
There's some people running a marathon over here.
That's messed up. It's like it's severely. It's just how it is.
Don't be a little fussy baby.
It's just how it is nowadays.
Yeah. What do you think, Groove Cat?
All right, Groove Cat, what's your opinion on these things? Doesn't like them. She's like, I don't like the hexagons. Like, I don't like them either.
There you go. All right, you can be free. Now you got bored sitting here, so you won't bug me.
I don't know. I think people, like, you're very right. People are being distracted and, like, made to look at other things and not what's actually going on. It's like, that's why there's all this talk about, like, the political landscape nowadays, everything, dude. It's like everything
the political landscape, Donald Trump's the president. The political landscape is the Wild West. The landscape is unknown here.
I'm not, like, a Trump hater because our alternative was Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, I mean, it's wild. Like,
It's like, so we'd either have a bureaucratic banking economist or a war criminal,
Yeah,
and I'd much rather have the banking economy.
Either gonna be in like a wild situation or a wild situation.
It's like, look, man, if people don't like Donald Trump, next year you can get him out if you want to.
Man, I wonder what's gonna happen. Are we really gonna re-elect Donald Trump?
Yes.
Who knows? Like, really?
As much as I don't want it to, I don't hate Donald Trump. It's not that I like the guy. I don't have a reason to look at the man and be like, fuck you. You know what I mean? I just, like, me personally, I think all these kids hate him nowadays just because Twitter tells them to.
Yeah, I feel like it's definitely, like, really like a...
It's like you got a bunch of...
It's trendy to hate Donald Trump without actually doing any research.
Or doing anything. It's like the dude hasn't done much, and like the things he has done aren't terrible. It's like, so I'm not gonna say he's a fucking saint and he deserves to be worshipped, but I'm not gonna sit here like, first off, he's our president.
Yeah, I don't think you can judge a president until like after like the next president.
Yeah.
Like right now with the we can't even I feel like it's not even accurate to like look at everything like Obama did until after Donald Trump happens, and then whoever the next guy. I'm gonna look back at Obama and be like, all right, like what did he do?
What went wrong?
Like what happened after that?
Like, how can we make this?
And then you can really make an accurate assessment. It's like impossible, I feel like, to like actually make an accurate assessment
while he's in there.
Yeah, while he's in, you don't know anything. The whole point of the game is that he knows everything and you don't.
That's the point. That's the problem, man. I mean, that's at least the point with me. It's like these people are just kind of told who to hate. It's like from the very beginning, Donald Trump wasn't the golden child. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't like from the beginning of the election. I mean, he wasn't like the golden boy everybody was rooting for.
Yeah.
He was like he was like the funny candidate, like the type you shit talk, and you never really thought he'd get elected.
Yeah, I mean, didn't like these nuts run for president?
But like the fact that he won goes to show that like people will do anything to troll another person. Like fuck it. It's like we know all these Hillary Clinton supporters are voting for Hillary, so let's fucking botch them.
Yeah, it was really, I think, just like Hillary's greed.
I just feel like there is a lot
wanting to be the president that she like made moves and I feel like if she was like, yeah, let's like maybe make Bernie Sanders the president. He seems like a rational-ish guy. If it came between Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders, like how is that even how would that even there's no way that would tip towards Donald Trump.
Oh yeah, maybe Donald Trump would win. Absolutely. If it was just Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders, there's no way Bernie Sanders. There's I hate to say this, I'm not a really big Bernie Sanders fan.
I'm not that much that.
But like, there's no way he's going to win. It's like I don't
think he'll win the next one.
I don't think he'll win any of them. It's like if he doesn't win this next one, he's gonna die, and for the next one after that. And it's like I'm not really big on socialism.
Campaign going,
but it was based on socialism.
But it doesn't matter. What Donald Trump was based on the wall.
Well, I mean that's better than fucking socialism. I'm not gonna pay my money.
I know, but I still don't think the wall will really get built.
No,
and
we don't have the money.
It was just based on just like complete BS.
I'm sure he really wanted to get the wall built, and then he got into being president and realized he couldn't make any decisions without Congress and the judge's approval. So it's like, shit, you know what I mean? It's like, and he found out the Democrats aren't with him.
He couldn't have really expected to actually have that work.
I think what he thought was
it was a talking point, dude. It was just like
what I think he thought,
like the wall. It's like this is the wall. It's a hype point. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I feel like he wasn't rooting for the government at that point. I feel like he was talking about the wall to the people.
He was rooting for himself. He was
he was hoping the people would jump on it. You know what I'm saying? And like if the people jumped on it, there's nothing really Congress or the judges can do about it.
He wasn't thinking like a politician. He was thinking like an
advertiser.
Like a business. Like whatever it takes to get the sub, get the vote.
Well, I mean, if I can say something about Donald Trump, like he's gotten way better in the last 2 years than like from the beginning. Like from the beginning, he was a loudmouth, cocksucking son of a bitch. Like, and I will say that wholeheartedly, personally. Like I didn't like it. But as he got, like, people probably got next to him and was like, stop going on Twitter.
Like, you need to relax.
Stop for the love of Christ. It's like people already hate you. I don't think you understand.
Yeah.
It's like people hate you more than they hated Obama, and a lot of people thought he was going to get assassinated. Mm-hmm. That's what, if you ever watch Cat Williams.
For a while, I remember that.
If you ever watch Cat Williams, dude, he's a comedian. He was like, I appreciate you not killing the nigga. It was like, you let him show up for work. It's like, I appreciate it.
I
You let
remember
him do
seeing
his job.
effigies, like people on the news.
Burning effigies of Obama.
Yeah,
dude.
just burning Obamas. Like that was. I saw a bunch of burnt Obamas.
I saw a lot of burn. It's like you can't make anybody happy. It's like Obama was a Democrat and nobody was happy, and now Donald Trump's a Republican and nobody's happy. It's like, oh, maybe the government isn't the thing we need to be worrying about.
Yeah, we're getting like wild on presidents, man. First we just like we got Obama, a black guy. Come on, I mean it's great. I love it, but still. Like this is America. Come on, we ship them over here.
Oh my God! Oh, knock on that?
Yeah,
don't sue us.
Exactly. No, I'm not saying a bad thing, but but yeah, it's crazy that we could go from my grandma going to a segregated high school
to having a black African American president.
Like whoa, that's a big shift. Is
well,
all
dude,
I'm
like 50 years ago, they weren't allowed to drink at the same water fountains.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? It's like that was the pinnacle of racism.
That was my grandparents.
Well, maybe slavery, but you know what I'm saying. It's like the pinnacle of like passive racism.
That happened with like a bunch of people that are alive today.
Like slavery was like full frontal oppressive racism. I'm talking about where they were like, yeah, you're here, but we don't like you.
No, but massive segregation.
Yeah.
In a really bad way, exactly like that.
And a lot of people, the thing that makes me really mad is there was segregation in the North too. It's like people think we were exempt from that because
that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
It's because we live above the Mason-Dixon. But no, it's until Dr. King marched, it wasn't we were segregated.
Yeah, this is
the North was very segregated. It was like you went to one place, they went to another. They did,
Kentucky, Ohio, Michigan.
Yeah. Segregation. It's like I remember seeing old signs, you know what I mean, only whites only.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
That's
blacks only.
Even in the
coloreds only, it would say.
It was probably a lot there's still just tons of racism going on even around here, even though we didn't technically have slaves for so long.
Well, I mean, answer me this. Here's everybody is always talking about the racism going on today. But my rebuttal to that is, are we more racist than we were in 1965? No, and if we are, whose fault is that?
No, we're not more racist.
No, I mean that's not necessarily what I'm saying. It's let's say we all all these people complaining about racism, complaining about this, complaining about that. It's if we're just as racist as we were in 1965 in their minds. It's whose fault is that? Because you're the ones calling out the racism, but not doing anything. Whose fault is it if we're still stuck in 1965? If you, like a lot of people think, nothing's changed since the 60s. And I'm if you truly believe that, whose fault is it? Who's not campaigning for better freaking legislation? Who's not doing what they need to do? Because it's not me.
No,
it's I don't believe.
That's
I don't believe it's as racist as it was in 1965. I believe we're a lot better. It's because even in the 80s there was freaking huge racism. It's the cops would beat you just for the color of your skin, you know what I'm saying? It's just because we didn't have segregation didn't mean there wasn't brutal racism. It's but nowadays it's yeah, that happens, but it doesn't happen to the extent of in the past. And if you really look at the statistics, it's equal. Everybody's getting their ass handed to them by the government. It's police, anybody. It's it just my favorite thing about when they always talk about this stuff, they always show percentages, but what they never tell you is that there are a higher population of white people in America than there are black people. So the percentages are naturally going to be higher even though the numbers are lower. And then they show only 15% of white people were beaten by cops, but 40% of black people were. But if you actually look at the numbers, it's the same numbers. It's just...
Yeah, just construed data.
Yeah, exactly. They take what you think you want to hear, and then they freaking spill it to you. When in all actuality, we're all slaves. It's we're all being oppressed. We're it's not just blacks, Hispanics, Chinese, white people. It's everybody. Transgenders, gays. It's everybody.
It's just the entire American economy.
It's if you pay taxes, if you pay federal taxes, you are a slave. It's you are paying your royalties to your master.
Yeah, I mean, I watched that one guy. Have you ever seen Andrew Yang? No. He's running for president this next upcoming election. His name's Andrew Yang, and his platform's universal basic income, and that's
everybody gets $50.
It's about $1,000 a month.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Okay, no, but think about it, dude.
Inflation, dude.
No, but how much money does the inflation? We invest so much money into so much random stuff, like other countries, the military.
No, I understand that completely. I think we should definitely cut back on foreign
I really
aid.
don't think inflation would happen if we all just had $1,000.
But that's the point. It would happen because everybody would have the exact same amount of money, and that means who the hell is in charge of the prices?
No, the businesses still, because if you charge less money, people are gonna buy your stuff.
But that's competition. It's not a monopoly. It's like, yeah, that would work if there was just McDonald's. But McDonald's has to compete for the best prices, and they have to do it in a certain level because they can't go below how much they spend, but they can't, go a little bit above.
That's what, because of competition, the inflation's not going to happen because people aren't, they're just going to immediately go out and just spend all of it, and it's not going to be like stuff is worth any less. Just because the only thing that's going to happen is everyone's house is going to look nicer.
I just don't believe a fast food worker at McDonald's should make as much as a guy who went to college to be a doctor. It's like that's just me personally.
No. It's not that. It's not that. It's literally you just the government just instead of investing money in tanks and tanks and tanks and tanks and tanks and more tanks and airplanes and tanks, it's just give it to the people.
But that doesn't work. It's like that's proven to not work.
I don't think it's. What about Alaska? Man, is Alaska falling apart?
But they're not giving each other money.
Yeah, Alaska has universal basic income. If you are a citizen of Alaska, the government gives you an amount of money every
Only because Alaska is a little inhospitable, and there's a lot of oil reserves in Alaska. So if they find an oil reserve on your land, they buy you out of your land.
No. That has nothing to do with universal basic income. I think you should look into universal basic income.
I have, dude. That's socialism, and I'm not about it.
It's not socialism.
It is though. That's borderline socialism. That's the point right there. As soon as you start telling everybody that they're exactly the same, that's when individuality.
No, that's not what that is at all. That you're just connecting things that aren't connected.
But I'm not being. But no, but that's really what it's going to turn out to be. It's like you're not gonna. It's like everybody getting $1,000 from the government. That's just welfare for everybody, and then we're going to get into really big debt, and then everybody's going to have the exact. What would stop people from work? What would keep people working if they just got $1,000 from the government?
Because
what would keep them productive? What would keep them going?
Well, it's not going to be. You're not gonna. Maybe it's like the actual amount that people will get isn't gonna be enough to sustain yourself on. So you're still gonna need to
Well, that's relative. It's like I can survive. Me personally, I can survive off $1,000 a month. Like I could pay rent, do everything I needed to do.
Yeah. So instead of making that $1,000 a month, doing something pointless, like being a cashier. You're just gonna do something productive with your life, or something you want to do.
Or you'll sit on your ass, collect government money, and do nothing, and spend it on do what a lot of people on welfare do: spend it on drugs, spend it on themselves, spend it on luxuries, and then they lose out because they don't have the money.
Well, we have welfare, and people on welfare wouldn't get universal basic income. So why do we only give welfare to? Why do we have this welfare system where? But it's that the welfare system is really unfair.
Well, the welfare system was created because there are people who truly cannot make the amount of money. Let's say you're a single mother.
But it gets exploited.
Most definitely. That's why I think we should have it revised.
Yeah,
I don't think we should keep up with the same welfare.
That's what I'm saying, man. It should be revised, and if we can change it so that it just spreads out more evenly, and really just people aren't gonna just sit around and not do anything if they have the bare minimum they need to survive. People are still gonna work their jobs. People are still gonna want to have social standing.
But you still have to understand that a large majority of people who can survive off that will not go back to work. Let's say it's 20% of the population, and that's 20% of people.
Okay, so
we just lost out.
So then also his big point, this Andrew Yang guy, is automation has already kind of taken over a lot of jobs. You see jobs that they used to be factories that were tons of people. I mean, we have had big problems with laying off factory workers because robots are less expensive.
No,
so
I
see.
Jobs
are disappearing.
That's where I agree with you. As soon as we get to this utopian society where robots run everything and humans can sit fat and happy like Wall-E, it's that's when I will say, okay, universal basic income. That's awesome.
Well, it's not going to be a big switch, universal.
But the technology isn't there yet. It's still imperfect.
But
still can't run itself.
And it's not like we're just the universal basic income isn't like income in the sense as like the income you make and that's like what you're. It's not universal basic like.
It's just everybody gets a set amount of cash by the government.
Yeah, and I think that's could be good for the country because it gives value to being an American citizen, and so that's I don't know that like that I think the value of being an American citizen is something that we should try to increase as Americans.
You're right, but like, what should I say? How do I put this? How do I say it? It's like productivity. It's like that's the thing. It's like the reason people come to America is for opportunity. It's like if there's no opportunity, no one would come to America.
It's universal basic income could increase.
But what you were saying about automation, I was saying like let's say robots took over the world, like took over all industry. You know what I mean? Like they're the ones making the parts in the factories, doing whatever. It's like no one would come to America because there would be no opportunities, no jobs, nothing to do. It's like you would just get paid to sit fat and happy. It's like not saying that wouldn't be. It's like once we reach that stage, that's where I'm at universal basic income.
But you think that universal income is the same as sitting fat and happy, but it's not. It's sitting like PBJ, and if you're living, you can't live off.
But you have to understand. I know a lot of people, just personally in my life, where if they all of a sudden got money from the government, they're not doing their job anymore. It's like they're done. It's like even if it's just a PB&J and basic cable with a lawn chair in their living room, it's like they're still going to quit their job and live off those PB&Js. It's because it's easier than having to get up at 6 a.m. and bust your ass when you're just about to go, you're like the government's going to give me money anyway. It's like, it's like I have construction worker friends who get laid off in the winter. It's like I know that those people love to be laid off. You know what I'm saying? They love not to work. It's like they love getting, you know what I'm saying? It's like they get that break. So if like those people were to get a universal basic income, like let's say it's $1,000 a month or however much it will be, it's like I know those people, like the people with the hard jobs. I'm not saying like your Joe Blow CEO making a ton of money is going to like quit his ton of money. I'm talking about like the people we actually need to sustain infrastructure are going to quit their shitty 9-to-5s and just live like very simple lives, but free lives. It's like very free. It's like because they don't have.
It's ridiculous to say that it would destroy our infrastructure because people would just quit.
They would.
No, then there's
nobody wants to work. Nobody wants to get up at 6 a.m. and bust.
Except for all the people who are trying to find jobs that can't.
Well, because they need to. It's like they don't have the money. It's like they can't. They don't have an income. They need to get a job in order to sustain themselves. If they were getting $1,000 a month, what the hell was the point of a job?
No, but there are so many more.
It's like nobody's like productive on their own.
That's not true at all. Like because people.
There's a push and a drive that forces you to be
instead of just being like stressed all the time because you can't feed yourself, and like if you like your paycheck like gets blown away in the wind, and like
but then whose fault is that?
Well, you shouldn't. I feel like living in America, you can't have freedom if you have nothing.
You're right.
So.
Well, tell that to the people, like to the homeless people. It's like they're the free. It's like you talk to a homeless guy, they're the freest motherfuckers on the face of this planet. A lot of them are actually really happy to not have a responsibility.
You're right, and that's what universal basic income would do. It would relieve just like the basic responsibility of like the medicine I need for this month, and like the gasoline to get to work, so I can actually do my job like a lot of people actually want to.
But there are other solutions to those problems. It's like instead of having to invest in fossil fuels, what about electric cars? Or what about instead of having big pharma control all the medicines and put them at ridiculous prices, it's like why don't we have universal pharma where prices are set by the FDA instead of the guy who invented it?
But also if you look at the amount of money that's being thrown around, the universal basic income, it's fundable.
I'm not saying it isn't.
It's doable. It's not like it's like really easy to just like allocate the resources and invest in people. And people are going to be, and if you give people money, they're immediately just going to go out and spend it, which is just going to be, the government giving it's like the same as just like lowering taxes, but that's harder to do just with like legally and stuff. If you just like the UBI, people are just immediately going to go out and spend it, and then everyone, the businesses in the towns, in small towns like this, are actually going to get more money. Like, there's nothing that you can, like, politicians always say, oh, like, there's all these plans, we're gonna do these, like, taxes, and we're just gonna lower this and improve the economy, and we're gonna fix everything, and with all these, like, vague plans, but
I don't see how giving people money is going to improve the economy.
Well, it's gonna improve not the economy, but people. It's
like
gonna,
the daily structure of life.
It's gonna improve everybody's
quality of life,
and that's like everyone's just gonna get, like, $500, and they're gonna spend it on their car. They're gonna spend it on their house. They're gonna spend it on
monotonous
and on a little bit extra food. They're gonna buy high quality materials instead of having to buy, like, the garbage that people are just gonna invest this, like, money that they could get. And it's not going to be, if you give people too much money, then that's not sustainable and people would get lazy. But it's just like taking the edge off of people living paycheck to paycheck. There's so many Americans that are probably stressed right now because they're working super hard and they don't have really anything enough to show for it. These slave wages, I feel like, could be a really good way to.
A good friend of mine told me
to help push this out.
A good friend of mine told me, don't let anybody tell you can't survive over $20,000 a year.
Oh yeah, with $20,000, dude.
Low. That's minimum wage, dude. That's minimum wage. It's like if you worked a year, like he has a mortgage, a kid, and 2 cars, and a wife. It's like, and he says, don't let anybody tell you. It's like you just got to control your money. People nowadays just don't know how to control their money. It's like they're more willing to spend it on the new Gucci slippers than they are on their rent. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's like, that's where I get worried about universal basic income. It's because you're going to give these people money and they're going to blow it on Gucci. You know what I'm saying? And like, that's what freaks me out. It's like, because it's like if you're going to give people money, it's like it should be, I don't know, like kind of like food stamps. It's like, it's like you get a certain amount of money worth of food that you can go, like, sustainable. It's like you don't just give them a $500 bill or 5 $100 bills and say, there you go. You give them, like, you make sure they can't abuse that power. It's like, so you give them, let's say, okay, like, instead of universal basic income, make electricity free. Because electricity, literally, it doesn't, what the hell are we charging for? Or make the internet free.
You can't do that because these things are like more complicated. I almost think that it's like a more, like, why not? Like, because there's companies that control the electricity. Those are private. That's not the government at all. The internet isn't the government. So if you're the government, that is Andrew Yang's, like, platform is that he's running on is.
Well, trust me, man. If he really does get in and he really does put that in, I want you 100% to be right. Like, I want to be wrong. You know what I'm saying? I don't want society to crumble like that way. It's like I want to be wrong, but I don't know. It's like just seeing like ancient Rome. They did that and they fell into debauchery. It's like there's a lot of places that did that. And
where are we now?
Worse than Rome.
Exactly.
I would say we're New Babylon. We're way worse than Rome. So if we did that, it could double what Rome was, double the fall of Rome. It's like because we have back in the day, Rome.
We can't double it at this point.
Dude, we have the weapons to double it. It's like we don't just have our little gladius on our scab.
I think meant like debauchery and stuff. Like there's nothing. You can't.
Oh, it's already a little. We're already a little worse than Rome. It's like Rome. It's like, yeah, you can, like, people are fucking in streets, anything. It's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like Rome was people think of Rome as like sophistication and culture. You know what I'm saying? But like towards the end of the Roman culture, it was basically like it was now in America. Like that's what people really draw correlation to is the fall of Rome and America right now. It's like if we really look at how we're going, we're in the middle of the fall.
Yeah, but it's also like a weird like progression too. It's like
I wouldn't say that.
It's like up and up
because nobody's getting smarter.
Well, technology's going. Cars are getting faster.
But that makes people. But in turn, that makes people stupid because we rely on all this technology to pick up the slack where our brains should be carrying.
There's probably going to be some kind of horrific event where a bunch of people die really soon.
It's like, and I wouldn't say really. I believe in a total. Personally, I believe in a total government takeover within the next 50 to 100 years.
Oh yeah. I mean, it'll be something that happens that a bunch of people that can't survive won't.
They're going to move everybody to cities, like small towns like this. Either Wellington will be a city that will be created into a city, or will be moved out of Wellington into the Cleveland area. It's because it's a lot easier to control the populace when they're all in one place instead of spread out like we are in all these small towns. It's like they already have a plan. It's all written down. It's like it's all out there. You know what I mean? They're ready for it. Yeah, it's like it's all about just getting the people where they're at mentally in order for them to just submit to what they want. That's why there's fluoride in the water. Fluoride in small doses makes you not dumb, but more dismissive of things. Like you could hear, like let's say 9/11 were to happen right now. You'd have a bunch of people right off the bat, instead of like everybody mourning the tragedy like they did for 2 or 3 years, like right off the bat you'd get on Facebook and be like, and you'd see like, I don't know, like the Twin Towers smoking with a blunt in its mouth. You know what I'm saying? Like you'd see jokes. It's like you wouldn't see, like right after 9/11 you saw like everybody mourn for those people. It's like nowadays, it's like you see a school shooting, 2 hours later, it's on Facebook, somebody's making fun. It's like, and that is the fluoride in the water. It's literally making it like these huge things that we should be like the war in Iraq. That's still going on. It's like, but nobody cares. It's like before in the 1940s, it's like that was headline news. It's like the U.S. troops invade wherever, you know what I mean? Pushing Nazis back, you know? It's like now we don't even, it's like freaking 23 soldiers could have got killed in a roadside bomb and we wouldn't even hear about it.
Yeah, that probably happened today already.
It probably did. It's like at least somebody had to have dropped. You know what I'm saying? And no, you won't hear about it. You won't care. And it's like, it's not you guys, but you know what I'm saying? It's like the majority of people will not care, will not get into it, will not bat a second eye. And that's what freaks me out. It's like because it's like we've reached this point of like, not everybody, because there are intelligent people who are free thinking, but we've reached this point of conformity where it's almost like hive mind in a sense, where it's like if we think that person won't like whatever, it's like we won't challenge it. Mm-hmm. And it's like, and that's like how we doom our society. It's like the only way to attain knowledge is to be uncomfortable. It's like it's to open up, like I don't know, I talk about, like my friends aren't religious, but I talk about God to them a lot, and they talk back, because we know, even though it makes them uncomfortable and they don't like necessarily talking about it, it still broadens their horizon. It's like it broadens what they know and their knowledge and their information gathering. It's just like they know more things than they did. Jordan Peterson, he's a clinical psychologist, he said, always assume that the person you're talking to knows something you don't. It's like, always assume that. It's like, because 9 out of 10 times that's true. It's like that person.
10 out of 10 times. It can't be not.
I don't know. I believe like there's 8 billion people of us. I'm guaranteed 2 of us somewhere somehow live similar lives.
Well, similar, but not everything. Like you know, in your own personal lives. Like you don't know what I ate for breakfast this morning.
Right.
Nobody does. Not a
single human being. I didn't eat breakfast.
No one saw me.
I didn't even eat breakfast.
I was in here alone. I didn't tell anybody about it. Just quietly on. No, I actually don't. I don't think I can't remember. I don't even know what I ate for breakfast this morning.
It's like I think a banana, maybe. I don't know. But I don't know. It's just one of those things. It's like people have really lost their sense of like community and brotherhood, and it's like we're all just. It's like what you said. We're all trying. It's like our world has pushed us to be so individual that we forgot what it is to be part of a collective. And we want to be part of a collective so bad that we're all awkward because we don't want to offend the person we're talking to because we want to be part of a collective.
Yeah, and it's like our.
It's like a defense mechanism.
I always try to like in situations and stuff like be like over the top, like welcoming and like accessible.
Like
and,
I try to get like
if I'm doing something and people are around, I'm just like. Come in here, man, like get in with us, like hey, like if I'm in a group and I see like someone like being like kind of awkward or whatever, I would like just like make an attempt to like make them feel like they don't have to be like that, right. Because some people they if you're not fluent in like conversation and like you don't really like have the skills, it is like really uncomfortable and weird. Like I've been there, like when I was early high school, or, you know,
just like you don't know what to say. It's like you don't know like. It's like, I don't know, it's like I feel like people, like once you're out of high school, you really, like I really wish, like I always say this, I really wish I could hang out with like a lot of the people that I knew in high school that I didn't really fuck with It's because I'm like I feel like I'm a completely different person because like I've figured myself out. I'm not like this socially awkward, angry kid anymore. I'm more like this outgoing.
Hopefully next time we'll have Parsons on.
Yeah, hopefully next time we'll have a guest.
Hopefully next time. You say it next weekend. You may,
hopefully,
might come
praying.
out. It's coming close.
I'm gonna try to get
somebody.
him.
Yeah, we're gonna get other people on here. Yeah, hopefully, like people like that from school.
Exactly. Like I would really love even like old girlfriends. Like my girlfriend right now is probably gonna get really mad.
What if we got Stanley and Shannon to come on?
That would be amazing.
That would be the funniest.
I haven't seen Stanley. Like I don't think Shannon likes me too much anymore.
Wait, what?
Only because like Shannon's one of those dudes. Like I love Shannon to pieces, but he's one of those dudes where if you don't constantly contact him, it's like he kind of gets to the point where he's like, I guess he doesn't like me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, some people are just like that, dude. If they were
but it's like that's not the case. It's like we just fell out of touch.
Like
you know what I'm saying?
like that happens to like a lot of people. You know, that's just like and that's like just like be with like our culture and stuff.
Yeah.
Like yeah, it's weird. Like it's like because we can like text people and some people are like really good at like texting all the time. You know, like being on it like with their friends and stuff, and some people aren't. And so some people like think that like
you lose interest.
Well, yeah, yeah.
It's like I hate that. Like I don't want anybody to think I'm losing interest in them. It's usually I'm just been busy the past couple of weeks, or I haven't been wanting to do shit. It's like that's usually what it is. It's
I'm just like out and about doing like a lot of things with like a lot of different people.
Exactly.
I'm spreading my time thin.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, and I feel bad when like I don't see somebody for more than a couple weeks. It's like shit. Like you know what I'm saying? Like I haven't seen Stanley in forever.
Well, like he lives across the country. So.
Yeah. But like we were playing Apex Legends together on PlayStation. It's like a battle royale.
Oh, like recently?
Yeah. And like we were talking to each other, and just a couple weeks ago. And like we were just having like just talking, like catching up. He's got a girlfriend. He's doing good, and I'm happy for him.
Got a fucking dad.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's like I'm just really like I don't know. I never want anybody to think like I'm losing interest in them. It's just if I haven't hit you up in a couple weeks, hit me up. Like I'm not doing nothing. Come over. You know what I mean? It's like
yeah. I mean, it's probably just like it's
like a lull. It's like I don't really think about it.
Other things that are more interesting, or I'm just resting.
No, not even more interesting. Just more like
just like
just more time consuming. It's like maybe I'm with my girlfriend the past week and I couldn't really do much, or maybe I was out and about, had a lot of errands to run this week, or you know what I mean? Like there's always something, you know what I mean?
Yeah, man, I always think like I want a girlfriend, but then I'm thinking in my life like, dang, like I'd be like a shity boyfriend at this point because like I like let's spend like one night a week together. Like that's like in my schedule. Like
it's all about like because that's what basically me and my girl do now. It's like she'll come over like once or twice a week, we'll kick it and watch TV, and then she'll go home, or she'll stay the night or whatever. It's like at first, it's like in a relationship, like the first 4 months of a relationship, it's like it has to be all the time with each other.
You gotta be like connected with someone.
Because you gotta figure out who that person is. And if you
I feel like I can't even like text someone and then like get.
No, I'm so bad.
I cannot even do that.
I'm surprised I got my girlfriend. That was just like a stroke of luck.
Like I'm really gonna have to find someone in real life and speak to them.
Yeah, it's like I'm gonna have to figure this out.
And I know I talk to girls that are like texting guys, and I'm like, man, I'm not text. I don't even know how to text girls. I can't and
that's what sketches me out.
I feel like I'm missing out. Like, oh, I'm not texting this girl, so then 10 other people are.
It's like before I met my current girlfriend Hannah. It's like It's like I'm so sick of like trying to play the side guy. You know what I'm saying? It's like I don't want to be. It's like if I'm going to invest my time into you, I want you to invest your time into me, and I don't want you texting 100 other guys while we're talking.
Yeah, and
it's like I don't know if that's rude.
It's like at what point does this become like you're like leaving like that other guy that you're talking to already, and then you're just like talking to me?
Right. It's like then like you have so many like I'm not saying all women are like this, but a lot of women nowadays they have 4 or 5, 6 people. Not guys too. They have 4 or 5, 6 people they're always texting, always communicating with, whether they're potential mates, friends, or anything. It's like it's always on the phone, and it's like I don't know. I feel like sooner or later we're gonna. Like, maybe not the next generation, maybe not the generation after that, but maybe the generation after that would have lost total operation of how to, like, communicate with one another face-to-face. It's like, not our grandkids, not their kids, but their grandkids. You know what I'm saying? It's like those people will have lost all, like, they would just be like you'll see 2 people walking down the street and they'll, like, look away from each other. Like,
no, I feel like we're not going to go in that direction. I think it's easy to see that path because we've kind of like stepped onto that path and we've like gone down this like this early technological road where we give everyone a cell phone. We've really got to see the first
Everybody's got a
stages
computer
of
in their
that.
pocket.
So like, how do people react? People isolate each other, and like the fact that we can recognize that, and at this point, a lot of people have, and they're like, we need to like adjust the way these phones
We
work.
need to do shit.
But then there are other people that are just like constantly trying to get your eyes on them for as many seconds as possible, and that's the whole game. But
Like all those people on Instagram and stuff. It's like all
and
those
just advertisements, and Facebook is designed and like
to get you back on Facebook.
Yeah, the algorithms of YouTube, they show you what you want to see, and in the up next, in like the column on the right. But but I think if you like realize that that's what it's doing, and you know, and like
that's why
the system is like that. But some people think that the system is just natural. Like these kids do, I feel like they're just like, yeah, it's just like I'm just old enough so that I saw the progression of things. Like I saw phones get smart.
We saw basically the foundation of like we were born in like the 90s, so like we found like the foundation of like starting technology.
When I was a freshman in high school, like people had flip phones. The most like when I was a freshman in high school, the iPhone 4 came out. That was the
pinnacle
of the phone. No, maybe it didn't come out, but that was like when I was. But that was like it was like at the point maybe it was out for a while, and like everybody had the iPhone 4, or at least not even everyone had the iPhone 4. Like everyone who had like a really good phone had the iPhone 4, and just before the iPhone 4, like those iPhones, man,
they were kind of
garbage.
The iPhone 4 was like the pinnacle.
It was like a novel, but it was like a novelty though. Even like the original iPhones, people were like, I love this thing. I remember having an iPod Touch with like the big connector on the bottom,
right?
That old connector, and it's like, and that was amazing. It was like it was voted the best handheld game device of the year, and
back when that was an award people won.
Yeah, I think it was probably just some like dumb magazine or something, but. That was like a legit device. It was like a. I don't even know what generation iPod Touch it was, but I don't even know. But it was like so dumb compared to my phone now.
Yeah, it's like our phone. Like that iPod Touch you had is nothing compared to the phones in our pocket.
But that's unique to me and everyone older than me. Everyone younger than us.
They don't take it for granted. They take it for granted.
I don't know if they take it for granted, but they just
they were born.
But they kind of do, yeah.
They were born with it. It's like us. We saw it. Like we saw we had dial-up modems. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? We remember what it was like here. You know what I mean?
Someone born in the year 2000 has no idea what's going on when people start going.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I've watched
for all the kids 18 and under. It's like you have no idea what the fuck we just did.
I know, and I've seen that happen in real life where it's like a couple older people and a couple younger people, and
it's like a culture shock.
Yeah, and they just start making that noise, and then those like the kids are just like, what?
Are you
like,
doing?
But like, why? Is this like a meme? Like, they think, is this like what are you referencing?
It is a
like,
meme.
Like
it
what?
Is a meme.
Like what show is that? You know.
It's like it's not a show. It's fucking.
Yeah, it's just like a weird piece of technology.
It's life. That's what computers were.
For some reason, AOL decided to play
to fucking be horrible to you. It wasn't even AOL. It was because you had to hook up to your phone, and it was going through your phone lines.
Oh yeah, no, I remember AOL would make
it was
that
hell.
Sound. That would make
fucking
that sound
hell.
Through the speaker.
And you had to sit there and watch like the little corner of it to like see if it was actually going to connect to the internet.
My only real experience was at my grandparents' house because we had like regular internet, but I didn't really mess with the internet. Like when
no point. Like, it was like for like MIT students.
But my grandma, she played like pogo games.
Right.
Like just like games, like
online
on like the AOL browser.
My mom used to do that. She used to play Snake and shit.
Yeah, there's like one of those like little frog jump.
Yeah, those little ridiculous little
like pop it where it's just a little like dart and like the balloon. You gotta like pop the balloons with the little dart, and I think she like would like play like poker and stuff.
That's just I don't know. It's like it's like
yeah.
It only took 5 years for like the whole of everything to be flipped on its head. You know what I'm saying? It's like now it's like there are people watching this probably who have no idea what the fuck we're talking about. It's like, and it only took 5 years. You know what I'm saying? Like from 1997 to 2002.
Yeah, if you were born in 1999, 2000, 2001, I mean you're an adult.
Yep.
Period. But you didn't like, you were too young to see like flip phones like being used by your friends. I texted Bobby Nestor I texted Bobby Nestor, his girlfriend Jen, my girlfriend Megan at the time. It was T9. I had
T9 predictive text, dude.
Yeah. That was just how and then the real blew our minds, slide phones. Not flip phones, slide phones. I would still get a slide phone really today.
I used to have like the phone with the keyboard, you know,
Yeah,
like you had to flip it over and had a whole keyboard to it.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying, like the keyboard slide phones. You slide the whole panel off and then you got a keyboard right there.
Yeah.
Some of them kind of flipped open, but yeah.
It was God, man. Years ago.
Oh, it was indestructible too.
Fucking the Nokia, fucking like I don't even remember what it's called.
Not even like the Nokia, but like that whole like phone.
You ever seen them shoot a Nokia? And it worked still? Like he called his mom on a fucking phone that he put a bullet through.
All of those phones though that are like shaped like that, they have that little screen.
They're just tanks. Mm-hmm. It's because the screen isn't glass for one, it's plastic with a monitor behind it that is ultra protected by the fucking frame of the phone. It's like you're not gonna break a button because
if it breaks and you know how that phone works,
it's like you could still operate it.
Yep. If you know how to navigate through the menus like by memory, you can just if you had your speed dial already set up.
I had my very first phone and I accidentally switched the language.
Yeah, it definitely happened to everybody.
It's like I switched the language to like Portuguese or something, dude, and I was like,
because it's a phone. It's like a computer. It's like back in the day, you can change the background on your computer and like draw something in MS Paint. That was the coolest thing you do. So like just the coolest thing you could do with your phone is change the settings.
Yeah.
And you're just seeing how many settings you could change, and then language, that's a setting. Click.
It's in Russian now. Oh no. And English is not English in Russian. Mm-hmm. I found that out the hard way.
Yep.
It's like
not like the word English at all.
No, it's like Anglo-Saxony or something.
Can't even.
Because the only reason I knew that is because England, Anglo, and it's like they're Anglo-Saxons, English. That's where it came from. So that's.
Just trying to make a guess and pick.
It's like okay, this is Anglo, so maybe it's fucking English.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, I was right. I was correct. I did that recently, too, with Metro. I'm playing the new Metro Exodus, and I accidentally switched all to Russian. Like, the game is based in Russia, so it's like, it wasn't bad, but I had no idea how to fucking switch it back. I was like, this is a brand new game. I accidentally just switched the thing to Russian. It's like, what do I do?
Man. I think this is actually helping for me, for my, someday I'm going to become a stand-up comedian.
Okay.
Maybe someday soon, but the problem is where we live.
Yeah.
There are no comedy clubs near here. I've looked, I've searched. There's probably like a lame one, but...
A lame one?
But there's probably no one that even laughs, and it's probably empty. But just talking on the podcast, I feel like...
Really, makes life a little
there's no one out there that's going to laugh that I can hear.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I'm aware of the fact that we're recording. And it's like a live thing that you're going to listen to.
And I hope you do listen to.
Yeah, no, you should also like and subscribe.
Comment, tell your friends.
We should probably wrap it up here soon. We're like, right?
Yeah, it's been like about an hour and a half.
Dang, yeah, it's probably hour 45, close to that.
I appreciate everybody watching, though. I hope you guys were at least a little entertained.
Hopefully the audio...
This was a good one, I feel like. This one is a good one.
Definitely.
I thank you all for watching. I appreciate all your views. I appreciate every one of you. Thank you so much for sticking around. Please wait for the next one. Rewatch our old ones if you haven't yet.
Yeah.
Like, comment, share, subscribe.
Chun Pod.
It's the Chun Pod. Gavin and Chun. I'm Gavin. He's Chun.
Yep.
Thank you all again for the third time. I appreciate all of you. Please have a good day.
Yeah.
Solid.
Yeah, it's music. It's a lot. Listen to Fubs and Chubs.
Yeah, look up Fubs and Chubs on YouTube. It's his band.
Yeah. It's a cool band.
It's pretty funky. They're in your face. New Cadillac. Great song. Very good song, New Cadillac.
Alright. Bye.